Let me ask you a question that might hit closer to home than you expect. Have you ever stood in the middle of your living room, phone in hand, and completely forgotten what you were about to do? Or maybe you've found yourself snapping at your spouse or kids over something as small as an unwashed coffee mug, then sitting there afterward feeling drained and guilty. Perhaps you wake up at 3 a.m. with your mind spinning through tomorrow's deadlines, next month's bills, or that constant pressure to keep up with everything in a world that never slows down. You tell yourself, it's just life. In 2026, busy schedules, endless notifications, financial worries, family responsibilities, and a news feed that feels designed to keep you on edge. But what if it's more than that? What if the chronic stress you carry every single day is not just making you feel tired and irritable, but is physically shrinking parts of your brain right now? Shrinking the regions responsible for memory, focus, and emotional control, while supercharging your fear center. Millions of Americans are experiencing this silently, brushing it off as normal, aging, or burnout. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the neuroscience of exactly how chronic stress reshapes your brain, the structural damage that's happening, and, most importantly, the 5 proven, science-backed ways you can start reversing it. This isn't hype or quick-fix nonsense. We're drawing from decades of groundbreaking research by neuroscientist Bruce McEwen and the latest 2025 to 2026 studies from institutions like Harvard, Yale, and the National Institutes of Health. By the end of this video, you'll understand what's really going on inside your head and have practical, actionable steps you can begin implementing today. Your brain is one of the most adaptable organs you have, and the same mechanisms causing the damage can be harnessed for repair. Stick with me through every minute, because the reversal strategies in the second half could genuinely change how you think, feel, and show up in your life for years to come. Let's get into it. First, we need to understand how stress operates in the brain. When you face a challenge, whether it's a work deadline or traffic jam, your brain activates the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. This leads to the release of cortisol, your primary stress hormone. In short bursts, cortisol is protective. It sharpens focus, mobilizes energy, and helps you respond to immediate threats. This fight-or-flight system kept our ancestors alive when facing real dangers like predators. The problem arises with chronic stress, the kind that never fully turns off in modern American life. Constant emails, financial pressures that linger, social media comparison, a 24/7 news cycle filled with crises, and the juggling of work, family, and personal expectations. This isn't occasional stress. It's daily, low-grade activation. Bruce McEwen's pioneering work at Rockefeller University showed that while acute stress can be adaptive, chronic stress physically remodels the brain's architecture. Let's start with the hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped structure deep in your brain, critical for forming new memories, learning, and emotional regulation. This region is packed with receptors for cortisol. When cortisol stays elevated over weeks and months, it causes the dendrites, the branch-like connections between neurons, to shrink and retract. Studies, including McEwen's landmark research and recent meta-analyses, show measurable reductions in hippocampal volume, often around 8 to 10% or more in people with high chronic stress. This isn't just forgetfulness. It's structural change that impairs neurogenesis, the birth of new brain cells, and synaptic plasticity, making it harder to learn, remember details, or bounce back emotionally. At the same time, chronic stress affects your prefrontal cortex, the area right behind your forehead responsible for executive functions like planning, decision-making, impulse control, focus, and regulating emotions. Prolonged cortisol exposure leads to dendritic atrophy here too. Connections weaken, gray matter density decreases, and the region struggles with top-down control. This explains decision fatigue, where even choosing dinner feels overwhelming, or why you can't concentrate during important tasks, no matter how hard you try. Recent 2025 studies highlight how this shifts your thinking toward more habitual, rigid patterns, rather than flexible, creative problem-solving. Now, the amygdala, your brain's almond-shaped alarm system for fear, emotion, and threat detection, does the opposite. Chronic stress often increases its size and reactivity, sometimes by up to 20% in heightened connectivity. It becomes hypersensitive. Small things trigger big emotional responses. You might feel sudden anxiety about events that haven't happened, overreact in conversations, or lie awake with racing thoughts. This creates a vicious cycle. A weakened prefrontal cortex can't properly regulate the overactive amygdala. The hippocampus can't provide calming context from past experiences, and more cortisol floods the system, causing further damage. This trio of changes, shrinking hippocampus, weakened prefrontal cortex, and enlarged reactive amygdala, rewires your brain from a calm, thoughtful system into a hypervigilant survival mode. It's why so many people feel mentally foggy, emotionally raw, and constantly on edge. Real stories from everyday Americans illustrate this. Consider Michael, a 42-year-old software engineer in Austin, Texas. After years of high-pressure remote work, financial strain from rising costs, and family caregiving, he noticed he was forgetting meetings, arguing more with his wife over minor issues, and feeling a persistent, low-level dread. Patterns like his show up repeatedly in brain imaging studies: reduced hippocampal volume, less active prefrontal areas, and amplified amygdala responses. So, how do you know if this process has already started in your own brain? Here are some of the most common early warning signs backed by research. Pay attention. Catching them now gives you the best window for reversal. 1. Memory lapses and persistent brain fog. Forgetting names, misplacing everyday items more often, or rereading the same sentence because it doesn't stick. This frequently ties directly to hippocampal shrinkage. 2. Difficulty focusing and decision fatigue. You start tasks but get pulled away easily. Even simple choices drain your mental energy. This points to prefrontal cortex challenges. 3. Heightened irritability and emotional reactivity. Snapping faster, feeling tearful or anxious over things that used to roll off your back. The amygdala is gaining ground. 4. Sleep disruptions. Waking up in the early morning hours with racing thoughts or feeling exhausted despite long sleep. Poor sleep exacerbates the damage because it's when your brain attempts repair through the glymphatic system. 5. Loss of motivation and joy. Activities you once loved feel effortful or pointless. This links to disrupted reward pathways influenced by hippocampal and prefrontal changes. 6. Physical symptoms like frequent headaches, muscle tension, digestive problems, or catching every cold going around. Chronic stress weakens immunity and increases inflammation. If multiple signs resonate, your brain is signaling for change. The good news, and this is where real hope comes in, is that your brain possesses neuroplasticity throughout life. It can form new connections, strengthen existing ones, and in many cases partially reverse stress-induced damage when given the right conditions consistently. Here are the 5 proven ways to start reversing the effects, each supported by strong scientific evidence. Way number 1. Prioritize high-quality sleep as your foundation. Sleep is non-negotiable for brain recovery. During deep non-REM sleep, the glymphatic system ramps up, clearing metabolic waste and excess cortisol byproducts while helping repair stressed neurons. Consistent 7 to 9 hours in a cool, dark room with a fixed schedule has been shown in Harvard and National Institute on Aging research to support hippocampal recovery and reduce amygdala hyperactivity. Create a wind-down ritual. Dim lights an hour before bed, avoid screens, perhaps read fiction or practice gentle stretching. Avoid caffeine after early afternoon and limit alcohol, which fragments sleep architecture. Over weeks and months, better sleep alone can measurably improve memory, mood, and cognitive clarity as your brain gets the nightly restoration it needs. Way number 2. Engage in regular aerobic exercise. This might be the most powerful single intervention available. Activities like brisk walking, jogging, cycling, or swimming boost brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, often called miracle grow for the brain. BDNF promotes neurogenesis in the hippocampus, strengthens dendritic connections in the prefrontal cortex, and helps balance stress hormones. Multiple randomized trials show that 30 to 45 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise most days can increase hippocampal volume and improve executive function within weeks to months. Even starting with 2 0-minute daily walks produces benefits. Combine it with nature when possible for extra cortisol lowering effects. Strength training also helps by reducing inflammation. The key is consistency over intensity. Your brain responds best to regular movement that elevates heart rate steadily. Way number 3. Practice mindfulness and targeted stress reduction techniques. An 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program, studied extensively at places like Harvard, has been shown to increase gray matter density in the hippocampus while decreasing it in the amygdala. You don't need hours of sitting. Start with 10 to 15 minutes daily of focused breathing or guided meditation. One fast-acting tool is the physiological sigh. 2 quick inhales through the nose followed by a long exhale. This downregulates your nervous system quickly. Progressive muscle relaxation or yoga also combine breath with movement to lower cortisol. Over time, these practices improve prefrontal cortex regulation, helping you respond rather than react to stressors. The evidence is clear. Consistent mindfulness builds resilience by literally reshaping how your brain processes threats. Way number 4. Build strong social connections and purposeful activities. Isolation amplifies stress damage, while positive relationships act as a powerful buffer. Meaningful conversations, shared experiences, and a sense of purpose stimulate positive neurochemical release and provide external emotional regulation. Join a group, club, volunteering effort, or simply schedule regular time with supportive friends and family. Learning new skills, playing an instrument, gardening, or taking a class also builds cognitive reserve and promotes neuroplasticity across brain regions. These activities challenge your brain positively, counteracting the shrinkage effects and giving your prefrontal cortex healthy workouts while supporting hippocampal function. Way number 5. Optimize nutrition, sunlight, and daily habits that support brain recovery. Focus on anti-inflammatory foods rich in omega-3 sachets, fatty fish, walnuts, antioxidants, berries, leafy greens, and nutrients that combat oxidative stress. Stay well hydrated. Even mild dehydration worsens fog. Get natural sunlight exposure early in the day to regulate circadian rhythms and support mood-related pathways. Limit excessive news and social media to avoid constant threat activation. Small habits like these compound. They reduce overall cortisol load and provide the raw materials your brain needs for repair. Research links these lifestyle factors directly to higher BDNF levels and better neuroplastic outcomes. Implementing these 5 ways isn't about perfection. It's about small, consistent changes that accumulate. Start with 1 or 2 that feel most doable. Perhaps better sleep and daily walks, then layer in the others. Recovery isn't always linear. Some days you'll notice clearer thinking, better mood, or more emotional stability. Over months, many people report measurable improvements in memory, focus, and resilience as their brain rewires. Your brain isn't permanently damaged. It has been adapting to the environment you've been living in. By changing that environment through these evidence-based practices, you give it the conditions to thrive again. The neuroscience that revealed the problem also points to the solution: consistent, compassionate action toward yourself. If this message reached you, drop a comment below and share which warning sign you've noticed most, or which of the 5 ways you're going to try first. Your story could inspire someone else feeling the same way. If you got value from this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we're building a full series around brain health, stress, resilience, and practical neuroscience for real life in 2026. Thank you for spending this time investing in your mind. You've already taken a powerful step by watching through to the end. Start small today. Your future self, sharper, calmer, more resilient, will thank you. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. You've got this.